welcome to your maths presentation. The topic of discussion for this week is ratios. I know you've already studied this topic in your grade 4s, so let's quickly have a recap of all the concepts you've done so far. To understand the basics better, let's ask ourselves this question. What is a ratio? Now, if you have two or more than two things in front of you and you are asked to make a comparison, there are two things that you can do: a qualitative analysis and a quantitative analysis. Qualitative analysis is when you look at the qualities of the things in front of you. Numbers of those things are not involved in this. So you look at things such as the color, smell, or texture. Here we have two bags of different colors in front of us. One is red and the other is blue. Quantitative analysis. Here it means that we compare the number of the things. So example, we have 2 red bags and 5 blue bags. Quantitative analysis is called the ratio. We can read this as 2:5 or 2:5. The important question over here is, why should we use ratios? Ratios are used a lot in practical life. Examples are, schools can use to plan their timetables. For example, how many hours should be given to maths lesson as compared to science lessons? Corporate offices use ratios to maintain their finances. What should our debt be as compared to our income? We can also use ratios for easy everyday planning. Example, if I have to plan an iftari, how many samosas should I make if I want every person to have 2 samosas? Let's look at the type of questions that we will be doing. Simplification of ratios, equivalent ratios, and the crocodile method. We will start from simplification of ratios. This means to turn the big numbers of the ratios into small numbers for easy understanding. In our last example, we had small numbers, 2 red bags and 5 blue bags. What if the numbers were big? What if there were 12 red bags and 25 blue bags? In such a case, we will divide the numbers of the ratio with the same table. For this, do not forget the divisibility rules. Divisibility rule for 2 times table is that your last number should be an even number. If your last number is an even number, the entire big number will be divided completely by 2. For 3 times table, if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3, that means you add up all the digits and your answer should be divisible completely by 3. So your original number will be divided by 3 as well. For 5 times table, your last number should be 0 or 5. This way, you will not have any remainder at the end. Let's look at some of the example questions. We are supposed to simplify all these questions, and for simplification, I know that I'm supposed to divide them by the same table. So for this, keep it in mind that your tables should be on your fingertips. Question number 1. 21:35. By looking at the numbers, I can tell that both these numbers come in 7 times table. So I'll divide both of them by 7. And my answer would be 3:5. Question number 2. 55:11. Again, by looking at the double digits, I can guess that both the numbers would be coming in 11 times table. Dividing them by 11, my answer would be 5:1. Question 3. 36:48. Now there are 2 ways to attempt this question. As I can see that both my numbers are ending with an even number, so we can start dividing them by 2. First answer would be 18 ratio 24. Because again, both my n numbers are even, I'll divide it again by 2 times table. My answer would be 9 ratio 12. Now over here, although both my numbers are not even, but I know that 9 and 12 both come in 3 times table. So I'll divide it again by 3 times table, and my final answer would be 3 ratio 4. Remember, you have to keep simplifying till the time you get an answer that cannot be simplified any further. So we will stop at 3 ratio 4. Now there's another way of doing that as well. We can see if your 12 times table is strong enough that 36 and 48 also come in 12 times table. So if we divide it by 12, in one step we can get to the answer. Question number 4. 25 ratio 60. Over here we can see that one number is ending with 5 and the other number ends in a 0. They fulfill the conditions for 5 times table. So I'll divide it by 5 and get to my answer, which is 5 ratio 12. Our next topic is equivalent ratios. Equivalent ratios are the one which represent the same relation between numbers. 2 ratios will be given to you, and if you simplify both of them, your answer would be the same. In this way, if any number of the ratio is missing, we can find that out. Let's see how we will solve the questions for equivalent ratios. Write the ratios on top of each other such that the smaller ratio is on top and the bigger ratio comes down. Connect the first set of the ratios together and then the second. For a complete set of ratio numbers, find which table are the numbers being multiplied with. Once you find that out, you will perform the same operation for the missing numbers. For better understanding, let's look at some of the examples ahead. Here are some example questions. 35 ratio dash is equal to 5 ratio 7. Now arrange your ratios in such a way that your smaller number go on top and the bigger numbers come down. Connect the same numbers of the ratios together. That means first number of ratio 1 and first number of ratio number 2. Similarly, second number of ratio number 1 and second number of ratio number 2. And find a complete set. Now for both the ratios, we have the first number over here, 5 and 35. Ask yourself this question. 5 is changing to 35. How? So you have to find a common table. 5 multiplied by 7 will give you the answer 35. Once you find out the table, you have to perform the same operation on the other number. 7 multiplied by 7 will give you the missing number. It's 49. Question number 2. 1 ratio dash will be equal to 8 ratio 48. Again, first ratio goes on top because it has the smaller numbers and second ratio comes down because they are the big numbers. Connect the complete set. Again over here we have first number of ratio number 1 and first number of ratio number 2 which complete the set. Ask yourself the question. 1 is changing into 8. 1 multiplied by what will give you the answer 8? Yes, 1 multiplied by 8 will give you the answer 8. Once you find the operation and the table on one arrow, you will copy it on the second one. Now ask yourself the question, what should be multiplied by 8 to give the answer 48? Yes, the answer is 6. Again, keep it in mind, do not stop revising your tables. It will make your work a lot easier. Our last topic of discussion is the crocodile method. This method is used to solve the word problems and is almost similar to our method for equivalent ratios. Over here, the basic ratio will already be given and we will be required to calculate the actual value of the things in question. Let's look at some of the examples ahead for better understanding. Example number 1. A shop sells red shirts and blue shirts in the ratio 3:2. What will be the number of red shirts sold on a particular day when the blue shirts sold are 20? Look at the question again and see all the important points over here. The basic ratio is already given to us. It's 3:2. And by looking at the order of the questions, we can see that 3 is the number for red shirts and 2 is the number for blue shirts. It's very important that you write the ratio in wordings first and then you write their respective numbers. Over here, actual number of blue shirts is given to us and we have to find the actual number of red shirts. So we write the actual number of blue shirts under the number of blue shirts and we see that 2 is now changing to 20. How? Yes, 2 multiplied by 10 will give you the answer of 20. So we repeat the same operation and table on the other arrow. Now 3 multiplied by 10 will give you the answer 30. So your answer is that there are 30 red shirts sold. Example number 2. A boy sells 14 cupcakes and 35 brownies at a bake sale project at school. Question A. What is the ratio of brownies to cupcakes? Question B. If the boy manages to sell a total of 45 brownies, how many cupcakes should he sell in order to maintain the same ratio as part A? Now as you can see over here, 14 cupcakes and 35 brownies. These are the number which he has actually sold. This is not the ratio. Ratio we are supposed to calculate in part A. Another important thing to notice over here is that the ratio requirement is of brownies to cupcakes. Our first step should be to write this in words and then write down the number of brownies under the heading of brownies and number of cupcakes under the heading of cupcakes. But if you look at the data over here, data for cupcakes is given first and brownies is second. Do not confuse yourself. You're only supposed to follow the order of the question and not that which is given in the data. We have the ratio 35:14. But our work does not complete over here. We are supposed to simplify this ratio. Find the common table. Here we can see that both the numbers come in 7 times table. Divide them by 7 and we get our final answer 5:2. Question number B. If the boy manages to sell a total of 45 brownies, how many cupcakes should he sell in order to maintain the same ratio as part A? Now when the question is giving us this hint that we're supposed to maintain the same ratio, that means whatever our answer was to part A, we are supposed to use that answer and find out the new actual number of cupcakes. So we note that down, brownies to cupcakes is 5:2 and this time we write the actual number of brownies under the number 5. Now 5 is changing to 45. Again, we have to ask ourselves the question, how is that happening? 5 multiplied by 9 will give us 45. Once we find the table, we are supposed to copy it on the other arrow. 2 multiplied by 9 will give you the answer 18. So to maintain the same ratio, when the boy is selling 45 brownies, he is supposed to sell 18 cupcakes. I hope you don't have any problem in solving the worksheet. But if you face any problem, please feel free to comment in the private comment section of the Google Classrooms. See you all in the next Zoom class. Thank you.